Hello, I'm Ed Close, and I'm back with another installment on Science and Spirituality TV. The subject of this video is dimensions. Everyone's familiar with the three dimensions of length, width, and height. They are the dimensions that we use to measure things like boxes, houses, rooms, and furniture. But what does it mean to say that time is the fourth dimension? And what do we mean when we say there are additional dimensions beyond these four? Where are they? What are they? And what do they have in common with the dimensions that we know? Can we experience them the way we experience space and time? The word dimension has been used and misused to mean many different things, even by scientists and mathematicians. I will not go into all the uses and misuses of the word dimension here, but you need to know exactly what we mean when we use the word and how it differs from usage in the current scientific paradigm, and even how it may differ from what you personally think of when you hear the word dimension. In the current paradigm, a point has no extent and therefore has zero dimensions. In quantum reality, however, there is no such thing as a dimensionless point. A point is simply the smallest possible quantum volume. That volume is the volume of a true unit as defined in previous videos. In TDVP, a one-dimensional domain is a line-like region occupied by quantum points as shown in this slide. A two-dimensional domain is a plane with thickness equal to the diameter of a quantum point. And a three-dimensional domain is a domain consisting of the volume occupied by parallel planes of quantum points. While dimensional domains are infinite in extent, specific finite portions of them, defined as distinctions in the calculus of distinctions, are regions that contain whole numbers, only whole numbers, of true unit volumes. They're always whole numbers because reality is quantized, meaning that there are no fractional quanta. Some of you may be familiar with the Hausdorff dimensions of set theory and fractals. Fractals are complex shapes like the one pictured in this slide, and they have fractional Hausdorff dimensions. Fractional dimensions like 2.15 or 2.7. Fractional Hausdorff dimensions describe the degree of complexity or roughness of a shape and have no effect on the whole number dimensional domains discussed in this video. Space and time are codependent. Neither can be demonstrated to exist without the other, and neither can be demonstrated to exist without the involvement of consciousness. Our perception of reality depends upon our awareness of points in space and time and the first dimension of time, and that consists of the line drawn by past, present, and future quanta of time. The spatial relationship between distinct objects depends on the potential for movement between them, and movement requires time. Now, duration in time and distance in space are different forms of extent, the primary characteristic of a dimension. Since space and time are both forms of extension, time is a dimension, and our knowledge of dimensions beyond space-time has been extended in TDVP by applying the calculus of distinctions and studying the invariant relationships between the four dimensions of space-time. All of the dimensions of quantum reality are mutually perpendicular. They're perpendicular to each other. Why? Because reality is composed of spinning objects, And to be stable, a spinning object must be rotating perpendicular to its axis of rotation, or it'll wobble. And if the object is rotating around two or more axes, which is something we'll look into in a future video, the axes of rotation must be mutually perpendicular. Otherwise, a rapidly spinning object would wobble wildly and fly apart. Also, the natural inertia of rotating quanta create electric and magnetic forces that are mutually perpendicular. But you may be asking, how can we move in a direction perpendicular to all three spatial dimensions, length, width, and height? There seems to be nowhere to go. But this is because historically we have not fully recognized the fact that our senses are limited. We have also not fully recognized the fact that pure mathematics is a reflection of reality. Even most mathematicians and physicists express surprise when time after time what is thought to be abstract mathematics is found to apply in the real world. Movements into higher dimensions require new systems of numbers. Rotation and perpendicular projections, which we call dimensional extrapolation, into the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth dimensions require numbers that in the current paradigm are inappropriately called imaginary. Fortunately, explanation and application of this calculus of distinctions and a deeper understanding of number theory clarify this and simplify the whole picture and supply the answer to the question that people often ask, where are these extra dimensions? Asking where extra dimensions are located indicates a misunderstanding of what dimensions actually are. The fourth dimension, perpendicular to the spatial dimensions, is only partially perceived by us because of the limitations of our physical senses. But by the process of dimensional extrapolation, we find that each domain with a higher number of dimensions contains embedded within it all lower dimensional domains. So the extra dimensions of reality are not somewhere else or curled up as hypothesized in string theory. They are right here. We are actually surrounded by them. By application of the dimensional extrapolation process of rotation and projection, we see that points are contained within lines, and lines are contained within planes, and planes are contained within volumes. This slide shows that, well, it actually shows an illustration of a point embedded in a one-dimensional line, which is embedded in a two-dimensional plane, embedded in a three-dimensional plane of volumetric space. So the point is embedded in all of these additional dimensions. We can't show 4 dimensions on a slide, but just as the two-dimensional domain of a plane is embedded in a three-dimensional domain of volumetric space, the three-dimensional domain of space is embedded in the four-dimensional domain of space-time. And this is what it means to say that time is the fourth dimension. Dimensions, however, are not things in and of themselves. Toward the end of his life, Albert Einstein discovered this, and the fact that he did is reflected in his note to the 15th edition of Relativity, the Special and General Theory, where he explained why he had added a new appendix to the book. He said, and I'm quoting, I wish to show that space-time is not necessarily something to which one can ascribe a separate existence. Physical objects are not in space, but these objects are spatially extended. In this way, the concept of empty space loses its meaning. Einstein was saying that dimensions have no separate existence independent of the substance of reality, but they form a necessary framework for observation, and the dimensions of space, time, and consciousness are equally real aspects of extent. As such, they are essential parts of any logically consistent, unified description of reality. And we tend to think that we see and experience 3 dimensions, but this is not actually true. In fact, we don't see dimensions at all. We see spatially extended objects. We actually experience 5 dimensions. We experience 3 dimensions of space indirectly through the 5 senses. We experience 1 dimension of time out of the 4-dimensional space-time domain, which is a point in time indirectly sensed through the senses plus brain function. And we experience 1 dimension of consciousness in the 4-dimensional space-time consciousness domain. So out of those 9 dimensions of the space-time consciousness domain, we actually experience 5, 3 of space, 1 of time, and 1 of consciousness. No experience is possible without consciousness of space and time, but we are embedded in a 9-dimensional reality, and much like fish in the sea or birds in the air, we can't see the dimensions because we are immersed in them. We experience reality through them. With the understanding of the relationship of consciousness to dimensional domains presented in this video, you should be ready for the next step toward understanding that the dimensions beyond 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time are real, and that it is possible to experience them. How this may be done will be discussed further in future videos. Experience of extra dimensions will change the way you look at reality forever. We exist in 3 dimensions, but we live in a 9-dimensional, vibrant, meaningful, interconnected reality of space, time, and consciousness. You are invited to explore this reality further with me next time on Science and Spirituality TV.